Hi, this is Vicki Romaine with Cheerful Greetings, and today my tutorial is by request. This is something one of my subscribers requested I do. I'm not a professional at this, but we will see how it come out. What she requested was for me to show her how to do a no-sew binding on a book. Well, now I have some pages for a book. It's going to be my art journal. All the pages are the same size and everything, and I've got them lined up just like I want them to be in my little book. So what we're going to do is create a binding for these pages to hold them together, but without sewing. What I'm going to use for my cover is this piece of green heavy cardstock. And some of the pages that I've got in here are very artsy in themselves, so I thought they would be perfect for an art journal. Now, the key to this technique is to put your pages for your little book in the order in which you want them. And if you'll notice, I have a piece of green for the back cover also. So what we're going to do is make 3 little stacks, and you will see why I put them in 3 stacks. I do that to keep everything straight and so that I'll know what I'm working with. I have a couple rolls of Tim Holtz tape. This is the one I'm going to use. It's a little on the artsy side itself, and so I thought it would work. Also, if I cut them at the different patterns, that'll be the correct length, and the length will be the same on each one of them. I'm going to use the full width of the tape this time. For my teeny junkie journal that I did last week, I cut this tape in half. But since this book is going to be a little bigger, I'm going to use the whole width of the tape. Now, as I said, the first thing I want to do is put my journal in 3 stacks. The first stack is my journal itself with it face down. In other words, I will be starting from the back and going to the front. So I've put my first piece of cardstock, or shall we say my cover, in the second stack. And I'm going to put 3 pieces of tape on it. One at the bottom, and one at the top, and one in the middle. Now, I will go over this process a couple of times, so anyone who's never done this can see exactly what is happening. I hope my camera's down low enough so you can see where the tape is going. The first piece of tape goes to the bottom, leaving about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. And the second piece of tape goes at the top. And this technique is not very time-consuming. The most time-consuming part of it is to get the tape off of the back of the linen tape. There's a paper cover that protects the tape, the adhesive part, and that is the hardest part to do. It's not that it's hard, it just takes a long time. Okay, I'm going to put my piece at the top now. And I try to adhere it to the cardstock fairly well by pressing down on it. I've got one at the bottom, and so now I'm going to take this third piece and I will put it in the middle. So we start with the cover, and it holds 3 pieces of tape. I'll put this approximately in the middle. Now, my third pile is my finished pieces, and they go over to the right here by the side. Now I get another piece from the first stack and put it down. And this time I'm going to put 2 pieces of tape. And the tape that I'm putting on this time will go between the 3. So that's why you want to put your pages kind of next to each other, not necessarily to measure them, but to make sure that the tapes will go between the other tapes, so that the newer tapes that you're putting on go between the ones you've put on previously. And as I go through this, you should be able to tell what the process is. As I said, the most time-consuming thing is, for me, was to take the paper off the tape. Okay, next, after I've got that on, I flip it over on top of the one I've already done. Now, what I did was I just put 2 pieces of tape on now. So what I want to do, I've got one that stuck to the wrong place. I'm trying to move my tape a little bit so it will go in between. So the last tape I put on was the 2. So now I'm going to flip the 3 over. That's the one at the top, the one in the middle, and the one at the bottom. And now we have the cover connected to the first page. All right, we keep stacking the third pile. We pull down one again for the second stack. Now, what I put on last was 2. This time I'm going to put on 3. And what I'm doing now is just cutting me some more tape to use. And I'm cutting down the line that is actually on the tape, so they should be pretty much the same length. Okay, now I'm going to put on my 2 pieces of tape, because what I'm showing over to the right is the set of 3. So I'm going to put them kind of next to each other so I can get my placement. And if you'll notice, from time to time, I pick up the tape and readjust its placement. And the tape seems to still stick pretty well. I don't want you to get bored looking at my doing this, but it takes that repetition to get it through your head as to what's going on. I know it did for me. And I want you to be able to see closely the process, because once you get it, it's very easy to do. Now I'm putting on my third piece of tape for this particular page. Again, I flip it over on top of the stack, the finished stack, and I make sure that my pages are stacked together evenly. Again, I flip the appropriate tab over, making sure, again, that I am rotating the 3 and 2. You don't want to do the same one twice. If you do, your pages will not be bound together. You'll have a loose page. Now, if you notice, my cardstock that I'm working with is double-sided, That really makes it easier to work with than if you had a single-sided cardstock. I have skipped over putting a number of these pages on so we could get to the end of the art journal. But there were a couple things I wanted to mention. If you notice, I'm working with double-sided cardstock. If you have single-sided cardstock, meaning the design is only on the one side and the back side is white, and you do not want that, you have a couple of ways of solving that problem. You can either put a book page or some other kind of page like that and glue it to the back of your cardstock. Or you could take another page like what I'm working with here and just put it on top and glue it to the previous page. That way the white backing on both sides would be glued together and you'd end up with a facsimile of a double-sided cardstock. Now, if you see, I'm back to the other piece of my cover, and I have my 3 strips of tape left. Now, kind of think back, how did I start my tutorial, my first part of the cover? I started with 3 tapes. So both the front and the back will have 3 tapes, and the pieces inside will alternate 3 and 2. And now you have your bound journal, and it's ready to be decorated. And you can look on the back and how close the pattern is to each other, the designs of the tape tells you how good you are at putting this on. And if you will notice, mine weren't really straight. But as I said, I'm not a professional at this. I've only made a couple of journals using this method. So have at it. It's fun. The most complicated thing about it to me was to get the paper off of the tape short of blowing it up. I had a terrible time separating the paper from the tape. And what I'm doing now is just kind of pulling it fairly taut. And as I said, this tape is really good. It seems to stick, even though I've pulled it off a couple of times. And if you find that the tape that you have, say that you're using washi tape, I don't really care for washi tape, but it does have some pretty patterns, I would glue it down. I would glue the pieces of washi tape down. I wouldn't depend on it being sticky enough to hold my book together. And there's some of my pages, and I hope I have helped the lady who requested this. I know it was probably boring for some of you who are advanced crafters, but for those of you who are not, hopefully the camera was able to pick it up close enough so that you could see exactly what I was doing and how easy it really is. And now, as I said right here, you can notice it. I'm not exact like I should be, but it's not going to bother me because I will probably cover it up with ink or something. But in some cases, they're fairly even. They're even enough for me for now. And in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and try your hand at it. Just remember, alternate 3 and 2. Don't do the same one twice. And that will help you out to remember that. Also, I found putting it in, working with 3 different areas helped me a lot. Putting it in my book in one stack, working at a second place, and putting my finished pieces in another stack. That kept me, shall we say, organized. I'm not really an organized person, as you can probably tell, but I try to every once in a while get organized. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please come back and see me and see what I have in store for you for next time. I think you will find that my project for next week will be a funny one, and you will probably laugh through the entire tutorial. In the meantime, have a great crafting day. Bye.